For this video, I was going to review the DigiHUD GPS speedometer app for Android, but first I figured I'd go over the smartphone that I used in the review. And this is a Lark Cumulus 5 HD, which is made in theory by a Polish company, but like most smartphones is made in China. So you're not buying Polish if you buy this phone. You can see DigiHD up in the right corner there. The phone is configured differently in this video from in the actual review because it looked as if the second of the speedometers that I reviewed, the GPS altimeter speedometer, was actually in conflict with the GPS. But what I also discovered is this diagnostic tool that I used to make sure the GPS still worked will do the same thing. So I'm not entirely sure if the app is even redundant or not. So anyway, the phone has supposedly HD support, although really it's 720 by 1280, so it's SD if I'm not mistaken. And it has a 5-inch display. It has a quad-core processor, although they don't say what brand. It has 1 gig of RAM, 8 gig of built-in flash memory, or storage really. It can take an SD card up to 32 gig, which I've tried and it works. It has Wi-Fi, USB support, Bluetooth, dual SIMs. It's got 2D edge support and GPRS in 3G. And in addition, it has 2 cameras, like a lot of smartphones. It has a 2 megapixel in the front, 8 megapixel in the back. The 8 megapixel I think is pretty good for a smartphone which costs less than $200. It was part of my reason for getting it. The main reason I bought it, though, was the GPS. So it has also a G-meter, proximity sensor, and so on. But the thing is that my laptop has a lot of that, so it's easier to do reviews of these apps normally in BlueStacks. But if you're going to do a GPS review, you need an actual smartphone or tablet with GPS. And in any case, I wanted to get a GPS-capable smartphone in case I ever needed one, even though I'm not fond at all of touchscreens. If you noticed earlier, I had to struggle just to use the touchscreen. I've been using these screens for years because I have, first of all, a tablet, and second of all, I've used Apple devices by relatives. The Apples are even worse, actually. And I just find the interface incredibly slow and incredibly hard to work with. And I think anybody experienced with an ordinary computer thinks that. It's just obvious. But again, it had the features that I needed for GPS navigation, and by extension it means I can review GPS apps. So anyway, sitting at Praha Hlavní nádraží here, waiting to depart on Eurocity 170, Karl Maria von Weber. And we're pulling out here into Nusla. There's Žižkov television tower. Nusla and Žižkov are kind of up against each other. There's Holoshevice. And I was still setting up the phone at this point, so I wasn't actually taking video of the speedometer yet. But there's my first video. It had already recorded 102 kilometers per hour, which I think was a fluke, because one of the first flaws I found in it was that whenever the train would turn, the speed would spike. So there, it's increasing speed. You can see the icon over on the left there for GPS, the thumbs up, thumbs down, which allows you to vote it up or down on the Google Play Store. You can see a battery meter, which is the battery meter for the phone. And there's an outside shot again. There going 79 kilometers per hour, 78 there, 79. This is probably accurate because we were going pretty straight at that point. Here's the Vltava as we're leaving town, and the speed's up to 100k. And you can see the average is 73, and it did another spike up to 120. By and large, it worked pretty well on this trip. The train was much slower than I thought it would be, because my experience with the train is, there are 100-mile-an-hour sections, 125-mile-an-hour sections. But most of this trip was, 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, which would be about 50 to 60 miles an hour, very roughly speaking. So basically the speed of a freight train. There the train's speeding up a little bit, but not by very much. It's kind of hard to tell because the speedometer jumps all over the place. There I'm attempting to get a slightly higher speed recorded there, but again, it's around 100k, or 62 miles an hour to be exact. And now it's speeding up to 120 kilometers per hour, which seems to be sustained, which is about 75 miles an hour. Then 130 kilometers per hour, which is 80 miles an hour. And then accelerating further to 140 kilometers per hour, which is about 86 miles an hour. So then the train's moving along at least the speed of an Amtrak train, anyway. Then we finally reach 100 miles an hour. So 160 kilometers per hour is 99, so figure if it cracks 160, it's basically going over 100. But decelerating very fast here from that. I don't think that was actually a spike, though, because there are 100 mile an hour, or rather 160 kilometer per hour sections of this line. But as I said, all day I was surprised at how slow we were going rather than how fast we were going. There's the old castle at Ústí nad Labem as we're coming into Ústí nad Labem. We're following the road there. That's actually the Labe River, not the Vltava. There's a freight train pacing us, which kind of shows how slow we're going. There's that, well, a couple of bridges in Ústí nad Labem, both of them fairly distinctive. And we're pulling into the station here. Although I think that's actually a block of flats right there. I don't think that's actually the station, because the two are kind of right up against each other. And I was sort of surprised to see this Ústí nad Labem flag flying there. You don't get to actually see it on a flagpole very often, but that's the flag for Ústí. And then we depart. And the speedometer starts to crawl up again. There's that distinctive bridge again as we're pulling out. I don't see too many of those in the US. I don't even know technically what you call that type of bridge. It's obviously a suspension bridge, but having the mast or the pier at an angle like that's weird. There's a trolley bus. They're pretty standard public transport in Ústí nad Labem. Prague used to have them, but they don't anymore. And now we're up to 111k, so about 70 miles an hour. Heading for Decin. And I thought the scenery was kind of nice, so I took a little bit of a video of it. And there is Decin hlavní nádraží. Decin is the last mainline express station, basically. Not the last station overall, but the last major station before the German border.